gods decide to speed up Krishna's pastime. So from a hidden place, they say, "Hey, Kamsa, you idiot! You're carrying your sister. Her 8th son's going to kill you." And he immediately reacts that my sense gratification is going to be impeded, and so he grabs his sister by the hair, pulls out his sword, and then Vasudeva starts to try to dissuade him from doing it, and talks about philosophy, and that didn't work. And it talked about how it would ruin his reputation. That really didn't work. Finally, he said, "I'll give you all the kids." And Kamsa believed him because it's Vasudeva, and he knew he wouldn't lie. That was a time way back before the current alternate facts. And that's a difficult situation. And in that section, there's a verse that says, what is there that devotees cannot tolerate for the sake of the Lord? What is it that they cannot, what service can they not perform? In other words, it's saying that when the devotees are fixed in the philosophy of samsudhir haritoshanam, they can do anything. They're ready to do anything. The philosophy has to be fixed in order to keep one's plan. Otherwise, if the intelligence wavers, and I have alternate plans, I have plan A, but if that doesn't work out, I have plan B, which is I'll try to enjoy the material world again. Or maybe I'll try to fit back in again, which happens all the time because the intelligence isn't fixed. We're not in nishta. We actually haven't risen to that position, and therefore I waver and I go back and I try to enjoy the material world again, either a little bit or completely. The news is, from that side, it's been tried and it doesn't work. It's not only embarrassing, it's counterproductive, and when people come back they say, "Geez, I wish I hadn't wasted 20, 30 years or even 5 minutes." But have your philosophy in place and have your plan and keep those in parallel lines. Yes. 1, 2.
Thank you, Maharaj. Would it be okay to repeat the translation, or is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Translation to verse 327-21. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One can get liberation by seriously discharging devotional service unto me, and thereby hearing for a long time about me or from me." By that, can we have the incense again as a regular daily function on all sides? You already put? That one's out. The wind's going the other way. Okay. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "One can get liberation by seriously discharging devotional service unto me, and thereby hearing for a long time about me or from me. By thus executing one's prescribed duties, there will be no reaction, and one will be freed from the contamination of matter."
Well, the reason I asked to repeat is just because I thought that maybe it implicated that in order to just hear for a long time, we have to be on the perfectional level. But now that I see that, it's actually you have to be discharging devotional service. But my question is in relation. Huh? How do I avoid? Keep it this way?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
so my question would be in regard to a reading in terms of hearing, and how that is emphasized as being beneficial in association. Sometimes, for my personal self, I find that reading in isolation is more beneficial because I'm less worried about what the other person might be thinking, what I want to reflect on or refer to or look into the Sanskrit or so on and so forth. So is it okay to read by yourself, and is the association part, is that just mean that we proactively discuss what we read?
Both are good. It's hearing in general is important and good, and if you can remain absorbed by yourself, not fall asleep, and actually be very interested in the material and continue on a regulated way, it's nice to hear by yourself. But it's also important to hear in association with devotees. Some of the points you brought up about other reflections that people have, listening to those can be the best part of it. I've gotten some great gems being in association. For instance, at Govardhan, when we do that yajna every year, we sit in the room together and we hear, and then there are a lot of discussions. And oftentimes, most of the time, people bring up questions that I missed. Questions are very valuable. In fact, I often say that a good hearing and chanting session is marked by having more questions than answers coming out. Because questions are hard. When you ask for questions, oftentimes in assembly, everyone sits there and goes, I don't have any questions. and when you hear and chant more deeply, you actually get more questions. Because there's no limit to the pastimes and the philosophy, and it goes in many branched ways, so you may develop questions. And that can help being in the association of devotees. Quick answer is both are good.
Just to clarify, sorry. So balance is good. It's okay to read alone, is what you're saying.
I hope so. I do it all the time.
Yeah. I personally like to. And my point was that I sometimes feel like I shouldn't reflect because I don't want them to feel like I'm the one talking. Not that I don't want to hear from them.
Well, they'll let you know.
That's my.
I mean, if you're in a good group, if you're doing it too much or a different way, then they might say, would you cool it or something like that, or somebody might say, oh, that was a good point.
Right.
It's good to be in association. You get polished that way. Even if there's jagged edges, when you're polishing stone, it goes in a tumbler, and a tumble makes a bunch of noise, but it comes out smooth, and you see the shininess. Divyanam Prabhu?
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, from the purport, I really like the point which you read, that the conditioned life begins only after one is infected by the modes of material nature. And Srila Prabhupada gives this wonderful analogy that there may be a police department, but unless one commits a crime, he's not punished. So I was similarly thinking that one can be fearful throughout his life, then thinking that I may commit an act, but on the other hand, we have an opportunity to take the association of the devotees, which is completely opposite to a police department, and be always fearless that within the association of the advanced devotees, and like the example you gave about the Govardhan is an experience which I kind of remember whole year and look forward to it, because it may be just few days, but it just leaves such a lasting impression for reading Bhagavatam and coming in the association of devotees. It's extremely valuable. So I just wanted to thank that.
Yes, thank you for bringing that analogy out. Prabhupada was once asked, why is Maya so strong? And Prabhupada says, it's not that Maya is so strong, your intention is weak. And Prabhupada then gave the analogy that if you keep yourself physically healthy, then you don't fall sick. So similarly, if you keep yourself spiritually strong by hearing and chanting, staying regulated, then you won't fall victim to Maya as well. Other reflections, points? Akurnath Prabhu.
I really liked, I don't remember ever hearing before the Jiva Goswami's comment that the analogy of Bhakti Pareshanu Bhavo Niraktir was faulty, because with eating, you can't just go on eating, but with bhakti you can just go on enjoying more and more devotional service without cessation. And
it's the ideal situation.
It's a special kind of happiness that you don't get anywhere else, and it's the only one that really satisfies. And I remember so many times, being with people enjoying eating palatable food, and they say, "Oh, I wish we could just go on eating, and we would never get full, and we would never get fat." But I'm thinking that we're looking for happiness in the wrong way. We need a higher taste. And then I was thinking also this morning that people spend money on going to like exercise classes, spinning, and they do dancing, Zumba and jazzercise. And I thought if we have kirtan like this, like we had this morning, then we should. In fact, we should market it as an exercise program, the kirtan size.
Some people have.
Okay.
I've seen that before. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. Prabhu, you mentioned this verse is encouraging, and it reminded me of a class I heard where it was explained that as devotees we may have a negative fear of Maya, but it was recommended to have a positive fear instead. And negative fear was explained as that Maya is very strong. We see people falling down, so I have no hope. It's a matter of time, but rather, as devotees, if we take shelter of the process, as we heard in the class today, so yes, Maya is strong, but if we take shelter of Guru and Krishna and devotional process, we can survive, or we can make it through. So, just find it encouraging. Thank you.
Yes, you can also understand the efficacy of Maya by seeing how easy it is to fall down, or that others have fallen down also. It's not to dissuade us that nothing works. It's to say that unless you work the process, then Maya will act without fail. Yes, Madhav Govinda. It's all from this side, maybe from this side too. You're all invited.
I like the two-step, the two-point formula which was given about working for Krishna in a way which is satisfying. Working for Krishna in which we are pleasing Him and satisfying Him, and the second is to hear for a long time, and that can give us stability in our practice of Krishna consciousness.
Yes, those two pillars in our life can get anybody through. Everyone starts in this world with some complex situation. It's not that your complex situation is unique. It's the way things work in the material world. As soon as you're born into the material world, you have a complex situation at hand. And now you have to deal with it. And when you come in contact with the devotees, they'll look at it and say, yes, you have a complex situation like everyone else. Shukadeva Goswami was aware of that. That's why he said, I don't want any complexities at all. I'm staying in the womb, because as soon as I come out, I'll be implicated and so forth. And it's not so easy when you come out into this world. So you have to have these two pillars to keep a shelter in your life. Hansapriya.
So when you were mentioning about one can eat more, and I was thinking, been through that, and you can eat and you don't realize that it can become addiction also.
Yeah.
But just like in the same verse where Prabhupada mentions in the purport that by hearing and chanting, you can get over the lust and greed. And I was thinking with the proper mentorship and guidance, you can get over it. So it means we have a sense of indulging, but if it's done in a proper way and proper channelized way, then it can be transformed and you can grow in much more positive direction.
Yes, that's the idea. Really, and Prabhupada speaks about this in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, as we're transforming lust into love, because that's what it is originally. We hear that in the 17th chapter of the Gita also. Shraddha mayam yo purushe. I said that backwards. But in any case, the point Krishna makes is that we're made of our faith, and our faith is originally for Krishna, and that gives us the impetus, the greed actually, to hear and chant about Him as compulsively as we eat, or as I eat. And so that is the transfer process. In the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada writes that there's a stock of Vedic literatures, and they're meant to transfer our attention from the mundane topics to the transcendental topics. Can you move up just a little bit? A little closer. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
It's unbelievable mercy to meet you here all of a sudden, and all the yatra here.
It's her first time in the Dham. Haribo.
Haribo.
Of course, she does kirtan every single day outside in Seattle, in Vancouver, and stays in that transcendental bubble. So she feels it even more intensely when, upon coming to the Dham. Those who do service intensely outside, when they come to the Dham, they get even more appreciation. Please go ahead.
I just want to, I've been thinking lately that we are not alone in this effort to do a lot of devotional service. We are blessed and empowered by whole parampara, by Lord Nityananda himself, through gurus and scriptures. And yesterday there was a miraculous example of that. I was totally wowed. We were this place where Lord Nityananda broke the danda of Mahaprabhu in 3 pieces. And in the lecture, Maharaj Chaitanya Chandracharan was discussing the pastimes, how the robbers were trying to rob, right? The jewelry from the lords, etc., etc. And finally, he converted the robber and gave him a direct instruction. Now you're going to go out and preach to the robbers and convert them. And it was then and in that place, around there, around here, it was all around here. And just thinking about it, that there's 7 jails which received full Srimad Bhagavatam sets throughout Canada and Kartik. So it means that whatever Lord Nityananda ordered then is still happening, because not because of us, but we are just empowered. We just here for the ride, basically, kind of, because it's their will and they predicted it and it will happen, and it's their mercy. It's just, and more than that, there are thousands and thousands of books. Other Srila Prabhupada books went to jail throughout Canada, and there are people who are preaching intensely, and there are intense gangsters who are chanting Hare Krishna there. Like, personally, I know what's happening there. So whatever Lord Nityananda said, it's happening, and for us, we shouldn't feel, oh, it's hard for me or something. No. We just pray, and we're just bathing in the mercy. That's it.
Yeah, I like the point about the robbers, and then go preach to the other robbers. There's a devotee I went and visited in prison in Arizona. His name now is Balavan Nitai. He was with the Aryan Brotherhood and a skinhead gang, very heavy gang, and he's in jail for life with no possibility of parole. I mean, it doesn't get much worse as far as the external circumstances, but he came in contact with Prabhupada's books because of this book distribution in prison, and he changed his life because of, as he says, the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And I went to see him and spent time with him. One realization was that going into prison is a little scary. I don't realize that I'm in prison in the material world, so I think everything's fine as long as I get what I want. And Prabhupada explains how there's first class, second class, third class prisoners. You can be in a heavy lockdown, or you can have it easy, but still it's jail. But I saw his situation when I met him in the prison. Actually accepted initiation in the prison. The only other person present was the pastor that was there, who was required, had to be there in the room with us. But in observing Balavan Nitai Prabhu in jail, first of all, he wears an orange jumpsuit, keeps his head shaved, is very regulated there. They get up at a certain time in the morning, everything, I mean, it's perfect Vaidhi. All the lights are on, lights are off, the food comes at a certain time. And I've experienced that living in the ashram, like at Govardhan. I think about it, it's like, this is nice, because it's like being in prison, kind of, a transcendental prison, because everything's just on time and you just take it. And then they also limit the amount of things he can keep in his cell. So no over-collecting, atyahara. And He's chanting 64 rounds a day, and all he has to do all day is read Prabhupada's books and write and to preach to the other prisoners. And he's in prison for life, no possibility of parole, but he's like, big smile. And I said, well, you look so joyful. And he said, that's my technique. I walk around the jail and people say, you're in for life. Why are you so happy? And you go, I'm glad you asked me that. I'm going to tell you now. On the way out of the prison, I was riding with the pastor. It was actually very nerve-wracking going in there. I mean, you know, there was all these guards. I came at the changing of the guards. There's these big, heavy people. And I was riding on one of the buses to go into the prison. And one of the huge guards looked at me and goes, first time inside? And I said, yeah, it's my first time in a prison. I've been in jail a few times. For Sankirtan. And he goes, he looks at me, this big burly guy, and he goes, don't worry, we'll protect you. And then we go in this big door. It's a time-locked door, and I go in there and it's slammed behind me. And I was realizing the importance of freedom, at that moment when the door slammed. But then when I got in and I saw him, I thought, oh, freedom is within our own purview. It's how we conduct ourselves, because he was free inside, even though he wasn't getting out of that. And so many of the prisoners actually cultivate inside. When they get out, then they lose it again. That's why Haridas Thakur said to the prisoners when he gave benediction, he said, stay as you are. And they said, what do you mean? He said, just stay in the mentality. It didn't mean you have to stay in jail forever, but keep that understanding. Now, the last point, when we were coming out, the pastor was telling me, he said, we're going to need some more of your books because your man in here has been really spreading it. And I said, well, how many do you need? And he said, well, at least 300 more Bhagavad Gitas. So there's no limitation, no restriction to the practice of Krishna consciousness. If you have a plan and a philosophy to go with it, and you stick to it, then you're actually a free soul, because you have the right plan and the right philosophy. There's only time differentiating you and being completely liberated in the spiritual world. And therefore, iha yasya harir dasye karmana manasa gira nikila apyavastasu jivan muktasa uchite. Even while iha, you're in this body and you're in your jail, your little situation, if you have the right philosophy and the right plan and you're enacting it now, you're actually a jivan mukta, you're a free soul. Of course, there's a lot more details to that discussion on jivan mukta given by the acharyas, but that's the essence of it. If you give full contribution. And just one other comment, that the acharyas say that, quote this verse, Brahman yadaya karmani, Brahmarpanam brahmahavir brahmanau brahmagnau brahmanohutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahmakarma samadhina. By full contribution to devotional service. This is the point, thank you, that you come to the Brahman platform. So if you want to know how to get to that platform, give full contribution. And that's the prerogative of every soul, to use his or her free will to give full contribution to devotional service from whatever situation you're in now, whether it's in the Holy Dham or whether you're in an Arizona federal prison for life with no possibility of parole. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. And now we have announcements by Her Grace Shraddha Devi Dasi. Tell us what we've won.
Hare Krishna. So we have won a trip to the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to live, and that's Gambhira, and followed by the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Wow.
So we leave today at 8:45 a.m. sharp from the reception. So please gather there and take your books from Madhav Govinda Prabhu. And if you did not return the bags and Lakshmi, whatever, just make sure that you do hand them over to him. And also once you come back from the parikrama today, just make sure he'll be standing there with his team to take the things back. Anything else you want me to tell them? You good? Okay, yeah. So I would also like to welcome Prabhupada disciples, His Grace Akunath Prabhu, and Her Grace Jagarini Mataji, and also my god sister Rashana Devi Dasi. So she was the one who distributed 5 Bhagavad Gitas, 5 Krishna books, and 5. And later in the night, I was just thinking, like, you know, that must have been heavy things to put inside your luggage. So thank you so much for taking such good care of that. Yeah. So it was a beautiful morning program, and I wanted to extend heartfelt thanks from the team as well as from all of us to the Kirtaniers, Rajendra Nandan Prabhu, and to Mahaguna Mataji. I should stand over here. And to Mahaguna Mataji for performing the Guru Puja, to Vaisesika Prabhu for the wonderful Bhagavatam Katha. I kind of missed a lot of it, but I was catching here and there. I also wanted all of you to visualize what happens here in the morning when we start getting ready, and you start hearing the kirtan, the melodious kirtan performed by Anand Murari Prabhu and his team. But much before that, a lot goes on here. We have Neela Mataji, Ujjwal Rasa Mataji, and Venu Gita Mataji. If you can raise your hands, they come here and wipe the tables clean. And sort of start getting the class ready. Akshin Mandal Mataji and Iluta Mataji, they get the altar ready for the Guru Puja to happen. And then of course, you know, there's carpet to be rolled, and I saw Mahabhagavat Prabhu today with a broom in his hand. He was sweeping the whole thing away. He was feeling so ecstatic for doing that. And then of course there's Okay, and Ramananda Seka Prabhu? Okay.
No, Ramanand from China.
Ramananda, okay, thank you so much, yeah, for that. And then, you know, Vidyavadhu Mataji and Shraddha, they bring the books there as well. So there's a lot that goes behind. I never get a chance to thank all of you, so just want to take this moment to do that. And then, sorry? Okay. Yeah. So I already told you about where we are going to go, Gambhira today, and just make sure that we all assemble here at 8:45. Prasadam is ready, it's inside, so right after this we'll disassemble and we'll go and have the prasadam. Okay. Those of you who can't, we'll be walking to Gambhira, and those of you who can't walk, just take an auto on your own. On our way back, we'll be coming back from the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and you can't get an auto from there back. So those of you who can walk. It's walkable from there, right? And then those who can't walk, then get in touch with Makharvinda Prabhu. He'll arrange an auto for you from a little distance from there. Okay? That's all. How long? About 20 minutes? 20 minutes. 20 minutes? 20 minutes, yeah. The walk is 20 minutes.
Hold on. Don't move yet, everybody. Go ahead. You're not done. Please finish.
Oh, no.
Not you. I was saying everyone else. I didn't want everyone to leave before the announcements are done.
I'm done.
Did you have something to say? Okay. I wanted to say something also about the book distribution. This is a serious aspect of our visit here to the Holy Dham. We would like to offer some service to the Dham by distributing books. We feel that it's the most tangible thing that we can do besides coming here and worshiping. But we want to leave something tangible as a service to the residents of the Dham, to the acharyas, by distributing literature. So if we can be aware of the fact that this is a service we're offering this week, we're only here for a few more days, that please bring your book bags back and the Lakshmi, and be very vigilant about it. That's part of the service. Like deity worship, you put everything in its place, you start on time and things like that. It's one of the ways to respect the service. So please take energy from Madhava Govinda, because he's a full-time book distributor. He's dedicated his whole life. He quit his high-paying job and... Oh, sorry. Anyway, he took up full-time book distribution and has become an emblem of book distribution for people all over the world. So let's rally around him and really pick up the pace for the book distribution, just as far as being attentive to bringing the books back, the Lakshmi and everything like that. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Not even close. You have to stop on the last point. Gaur Premanande Nitai Gaura Hari Bo 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo Bo Hari Bo Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Vanchakalpadurusha Kripasnabhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nandakoti Vaishnavindiki.